And welcome back, Mindsetters. Hope you had a nice little break. You went to do whatever you had to do. You went to go wash the dishes and had to run back. But make sure that you're ready, focused, and paying attention. You've got your pens and pads out, and you're going to make some notes. Because we actually have some questions here. So let's ask them.
Yes.
Tuso wanted to find out what is the effect of if the connector neuron on the body is damaged?
Tuso.
Yes.
Great question, Tuso. It's a nice predict question. Whether they talk of the motor neuron, whether they talk of the sensory neuron, whether they talk of the connector neuron, they would like to ask the question, predict what will happen if this one is damaged. Now, important in a question like this, a predict question is what? What is it testing, guys? It's testing whether you know the function of that particular part. That's all it is. It's the reverse of the function. If I can ask you, what's the function of the connector neuron? You're going to tell me it does this or that. Then I ask you, what happens if it's not there? Obviously, whatever it was supposed to do now won't happen. So that's where we're going. Let's look at this diagram, because the diagram is relevant in this case. Here's the spinal cord. Here's the sensory neuron coming in. It makes a synapse with a connector neuron, which makes a synapse with a motor neuron. And the word connector tells you, or inter, or relay, all the same. They mean the same thing. It's the name of this neuron here. So the connector neuron, or the relay neuron, or the interneuron, the job is to connect or transfer the impulse from the sensory neuron to the motor neuron. So Tuso, if it's not there, then the connection is broken. So therefore, the impulse would not flow from the sensory neuron and back to the motor neuron. And if that doesn't happen, then obviously that impulse will not reach the effector, and therefore the person will not be able to respond to the stimulus. But remember, in this case, the feeling will still be there, and this is dangerous. Imagine your hand lying on a hot plate or a heater or anything hot. You can feel that it's hot, but your body is not reacting so that you pull your hand away.
Right.
Flesh gone in that case.
Wow. That
Because you're not going to be able to respond to this. You can feel it, but you can't do anything about it. So that's it. Remember, if the sensory neuron is damaged, then obviously you would not be able to feel. That's also dangerous, because now you're not even knowing that you're burning. So you can burn your whole body that way. Because the minute you feel it quick, you pull away. So those things are very important. So if the sensory neuron is damaged, feeling is stopped. If the motor neuron is damaged, you cannot respond. And so too with the connector neuron. Next question.
Right. Then we had another one from Sweetness, which is a cute name. Hey guys, thank you so much for the great show. I want to know, what effect will having any damage on the spinal cord have on the body?
All right. We need to understand that the spinal cord, one of the functions, again, the question is asking, what will either damage? So first, what must we ask? What does the spinal cord do? And let's not confuse the vertebral column with the spinal cord. The vertebral column is the bones, or are the bones that cover and protect the spinal cord. Spinal cord is a bundle of nerves running in the middle there. Now, those nerves connect the body with the brain. That's one of the main functions of the spinal cord, is to connect the body, the rest of the body, with the brain, and connect the brain with the rest of the body. Also, we just learned now that the spinal cord is important in reflex actions. So if the spinal cord is damaged, depending what part of the spinal cord is damaged, it can hamper reflex action, and it may hamper communication between the brain and the rest of the body, and vice versa. It can also lead to paralysis. In other words, you cannot move your limbs, etc. That's very common in motor car accidents and horse riding accidents and falling off from a building, etc., where your spinal cord snaps. And the problem here, guys, you must understand that nerve cells are so specialized. They've become so specialized that they've lost the ability to regenerate. If you cut your nails grows next week. You bruise your skin grows back again. You cut your hair grows again. But when you damage nerve cells, they take very long, if at all, to repair. So that is why it's absolutely important to protect your nerve cells. You notice these days with the boxing also, when the boxers are in the ring, they have a lot of protective gear. In the old days, the boxers would leave their hands on the side and say, come and hit me. Muhammad Ali, That's what he did. He would take a beating. Look at how he talks today. Parkinson's and the rest of it, because he took a big thumping to the head. And every time you get a thumping to your head, you are damaging nerve cells. So the same way, if the spinal cord gets damaged, we have those type of problems.
All right.
Are we
Then
done? Yeah?
do you think we can squeeze in one more?
One more, yes, why not?
Okay, so basically we had another one that came in from Coquette. So he wanted to find out, why is the cerebellum called the tree of life? But I'm not sure if he was confused about that one.
Coquetzo, the cerebellum is not actually called the tree of life, but the white matter on the inside. If we go back to that diagram, I'm not sure if it shows properly. Okay, here it's actually showing the reverse. In the brain, the white matter is on the inside. This is like an X-ray, by the way. So the white matter, can you see this? Can you see the structure that looks like a tree there in this area, guys? I'm sure you can see. Now that structure in the brain is white. Arbor vitae, the Latin name, tree of life. Because of the way it looks like a branching tree, it's given this common name, the arbor vitae, the tree of life. But it is not the cerebellum that's called that, but it is the white matter on the inside of the cerebellum that's given this name. Okay. By the way, guys, don't stress if you do not understand that part and you can't remember that part. It is not examinable. Okay? It's interesting to know. Any more there, Ty? No?
Nope, I think we're good to go.
Good, good, good. So we were busy with the eye. And we're done up to that point. All right, and we did the functions of D. So we'll move on. Explain how part E functions in dim light. Very important to know that. Remember, I pointed this out when we introduced these topics. So first we must know what is part E. There's part E there. Label first, and that is the iris. The iris is made up of smooth muscle. That is radial and circular muscles. These muscles are antagonistic. If the one contracts, the other one relaxes. When the other one contracts, this one relaxes, and so on. Now, this one here, I remind my learners with a very simple thing here, debit and credit. Debit and credit. So we want to know in dim light. There's where the D comes from. In dim light, R for radial muscles. Radial muscles. C for contracts. And we put a square there, so we put again the circular muscles, C for circular muscles, relaxes. By the way, that you don't even need a mnemonic for, because I told you in the beginning that if the one contracts, the other one relaxes. Now, what is the result of this? That's the important part. What is the result of this? Because of this, the pupil becomes wider, or we say it dilates. Let's go back to the diagram. The pupil is the space between the iris. Remember, in your body, the iris is not like two lines. The iris is actually a circular structure like that. And whatever color the iris is, by the way, that's the color of your eyes, unless, of course, you're wearing different color contact lenses. But that is the story. So the whole, as we may call it, is the pupil. So what happens here is the pupil becomes wider to allow more light to enter. Guys, these two sentences are based on logic. If it's dim, we need to take in as much light as possible. And if we need to take in as much light as possible, then we need to make the opening wider. So this part, you should get 1, 2 marks. Sometimes even 3, because you know about the pupil. 1, 2, 3. So even if you can't remember this, at least this last part, you should get out of 5 marks, you should get 3. This is just to make you remember. Remember, in bright light, it would be the opposite. So if you learn this, then you know that in bright light is the opposite. In bright light, the radial muscles will relax, the circular muscles will contract, the pupil becomes smaller, it constricts, narrower, and allows less light to enter. Why? Because you don't want too much light to enter, because the rods and cones will get damaged. So if you learn this one, the other one is the opposite. This is also something you need to learn. Learning skills condense your learning. You don't have to learn both. Because the problem with learning both, you get to the exams and you say, ish, what do I know now? Bright or dumb? Which is bright, which is dumb? If you know that you know bright, if they ask you bright, hooray, you answer it. If they ask you dumb, hooray, because you answer the opposite to what you know. It's as simple as that. Okay? Explain why a person whose ciliary muscles do not function properly should wear glasses. First of all, the ciliary muscles and body are in this area here. And attached to them are the suspensory ligaments, and attached to that is the lens. And the lens is our focusing part of the eye. When we want to see something closer or further away, this lens shape changes. And what causes the lens shape to change? The ciliary muscles and the suspensory ligaments. So if the ciliary muscles are not functioning, then the lens will not be able to alter its shape. And if the lens cannot alter its shape, we would not be able to focus. So ciliary muscles alter lens shape. So if it's not there, lens no alter. That's not how you write, but how you remember. No alter, and therefore no focus. That's why you need glasses to fix that. It's as simple as that. Okay? Notice sometimes you look at a question and you think, wow, what the hell are they asking? We did not learn this in school. But you did learn the function of the ciliary muscle. You did learn the function of the suspensory ligament. You did learn the function of the lens. And that is what this question is asking. It's just asking it with a curved ball. And that is what it's about. Understand your work. If you swat your work, you are not going to manage the story. You have to understand, love the life science. This is the subject that's alive. It's about you, it's about me, it's about our bodies and how we work. So you have got to love it. Talk about it. This question says, give a diagram there. They say, which diagram, A or B, illustrates short-sightedness? Now let's look at a diagram. A or B. A or B illustrates short-sightedness. Now let's look at the diagram. There's the retina. The image is falling here. There's the retina in this one here. The image is falling there. So what's the problem? If a person is short-sighted, that means they can only see things that are close to them. They can't see things that are far. So obviously the answer would be A, because you can see that the image is falling before the retina. So it's not long enough. And the next one would say which one is for long-sightedness, and that would be B, because it's falling behind the retina. So that means you're looking at a book, but you can't see the image because the image is falling behind the retina. So what you do, you push the book further away so that you're moving this image further so it falls on the retina. And that is how the optician corrects your vision, by giving you concave or convex lenses, depending on which of these two. Concave for short-sightedness and convex for long-sightedness. I'm going to skip this question on the eye. I want to go straight into the ear. Okay. Study the diagram of the human ear below and answer the questions that follow. Label parts A, B, C, D, and E. A, auditory canal. B, tympanic membrane. What was next? C, D, and E, right? All of them. This one here, all together they call the ossicles. You cannot write hammer or anvil or stirrup because they've given you a bracket over all three. Together they are called the ossicles, the tiny bones in the middle ear. D, there is the oval window. And E, look at where this nerve is coming from. It's coming from the semicircular canals and the sacculus. So this branch of the nerve is called the equilibrium nerve. This branch of the nerve here coming from the cochlea, that is the auditory nerve. This one is for hearing. This one is for balance. Got it? Good. Labeling the. They say part A secretes a wax known as cerumen. Sometimes the wax forms a solid plug. State two functions of cerumen. Obviously, it's for protection and to keep the ear canal moist. Will sound waves reach part D if C was removed? There's C. If we remove the C, would sound waves reach there? No, they won't, because this is air. And if air, the sound waves will not move. If there was liquid there, it would be able to move down that way. And I've given you the answer for the reason as well there. This question here, we will not get into it now because we will not get finished with that. I just want to go back to the last one then. Guys, remember this is balance, and that is hearing. Those are the two important functions that you need to know about the ear, and it would be covered again in next few segments where we'd go into hearing and balance. With that, I'll leave you over to Ty.
All right. So mindsetters, I hope you guys enjoyed today's session. And well, in fact, I don't have to hope. I see on the page that you guys have been awesome. You've been on the page as always, posting, and I'm glad. Matrix, I just want to say to those of you who are writing your life science paper soon, I just want to say best of luck, and I just want to say good luck and good studying. Make sure, as we've been saying, you follow these sessions and you have your pens and pads out and you make notes. But this is the part where I now say thank you for joining us, and on behalf of Mr. Azam, I'm going to say thank you for watching, and this is where I sign off and say thanks and see you next time. Cheers.